Welcome to the Family Health with Dr. Lex YouTube channel. It's season 2, and we're starting off the season with my friend, Dr. Nicole Swiner, who is a board-certified family physician, a best-selling author, speaker, publisher, wife, and mom. Doc Swiner is co-owner of Durham Family Medicine. She is an expert on the Superwoman Complex, which is what we're going to be speaking about today. And her particular interests include minority health, women's health, self-care, and entrepreneurship. Doc Swiner has made it her mission to make medicine plain and understandable so that her patients from all walks of life can understand and better take care of themselves. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome my friend, Dr. Nicole Swiner, to the show.
Good morning, Dr. Swiner, Doc Nicole Swiner, the one and only, the famous Durham chick who is basically running the show with her husband in the world of medicine and entrepreneurship and all things women's health and wellness, minority health and wellness. She is a best-selling author. She is a business owner, family physician. She is a coach, a mentor, and the creator of the Superwoman Complex community. Please welcome Dr. Nicole Swiner. How are you doing, girl?
Hello, friend.
It's nice to see your face. I think the last time you and I were on Zoom together was about a year ago when I was part of your New Normal conference.
That's right.
Which was kind of everybody was just settling into what the pandemic brought.
Right.
And a lot of people were given almost the gift of time, in a sense, despite all of the heartache that we've been through, to kind of reassess and reevaluate their lives and take a look at how we're living and what we're doing and where we are and where we want to be. And you have been a proud advocate and proponent of making your own path and taking control of your health and your life. And that is what you stand for. So I am always in awe of you. And I'm so excited to talk to you today about the Superwoman Complex and how we can follow in your footsteps and really kind of start to create a life that we love and keeps us healthy and well physically and mentally.
Absolutely. And ditto. I'm glad to see your face. And I am a huge, I stand for you. And, and I'm watching all the things that you're doing and your graphics, and the fact that you even started this podcast is amazing. So I'm a big fan of what you're doing as well.
Thanks. It's been fun. It's been, this is a great creative outlet for us to, expand our reach. I talked to Dr. Darko about how we all, feel like we have something to give that's outside of the exam room. And as a means of just, even if it's just inspiring, not even necessarily educating people, I think we can help kind of spark a change in people's lives more broadly than just in our offices. And so I'm excited to speak to so many dynamic people like you. Now, folks, we are on the tobacco road here. We are, Doc Swiner is over in Durham and she's a Duke Blue Devil. I'm over here in Carolina country in Chapel Hill, but Doc Swiner did her undergraduate training at Duke University, did her medical school at MUSC. And then residency was where?
UNC Family Medicine.
Right.
Yeah, so, I sure was.
So we can't see the color of your shirt, but I think I know where your allegiance lies.
All day. Duke Blue all day. I will not get in trouble.
We may have just lost some listeners, but that's okay. Listen,
I have love for UNC. I have love, but during basketball season, don't call me.
Don't hold it against her, Tar Heels. Okay. So talk to me. You're a mom. You're a wife to a very successful entrepreneur, Rick. You are a business owner, co-owner. You are a physician. You write books, and you're telling us how to not to be Superwoman. So, what is Superwoman Complex? How do you have any credibility as a Superwoman to tell us not to be one, or that we don't have to be one? Talk to me about it.
The audacity, right? For me to tell you to go sit down, and I'm like doing all these things. I tell you what. So it took. Interestingly, so I talk about being a superwoman. It took the men in my life. I credit the men that love and support me as the ones who told me, okay, listen, all right, superstar, we see what you're trying to do. We see you treating the patients and you want to have the kids and the husband and the happy home and that business. Like you're going to pass out. Like, what are you doing? My husband and my father, after the birth of my first child, looked at what I was doing and said, you're going to burn yourself at both ends. Like, how are you going to, sustain yourself? And that was really like empowering for the men around me, because usually as women, particularly type A successful women like us, we're taught to go, 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 do it all. You can do it. Go get it, girl. And usually the men, unfortunately, kind of help to continue pushing us in that direction, or they don't say anything at all because we're taking care of everything, right? But after I returned from maternity leave, and I really think my father, a lot of it came from my mother, unfortunately, I think kind of was in that mode on the hamster wheel, trying to do everything perfectly, and later succumbed to alcoholism, likely as a self-medication for mental health issues because of stress and all this stuff. So I think he didn't want me to end up on that same path. And certainly my husband agreed, with now we have this one kid and we have two. He said, you're doing too much. We're gonna have to figure this like schedule out so you can get some rest and take care of yourself. So I think my credibility comes from the fact that I probably will always be a superwoman, which has negative connotations, has negative effects. It can be very detrimental to your health. But I try my best to practice what I preach so that I can share with other ladies and other men. I mean, that, you can be a superman too. Like just how to just take some time just to relax and figure out what makes you happiest. Hopefully you can make some money and create a lifestyle out of that. But then the overarching theme needs to be self-care. Does that make sense?
For sure. And first, what a mighty good man.
Yes.
I mean, you're quite lucky to have supportive men who put you first and put your health first over, what's going to be on the table tonight, ma'am. I think that more and more we are living kind of running households that where men and women carry less traditional roles. My husband and I split the roles in our family very evenly, but in a lot of the ways they're non-traditional. And so I think it's awesome that your husband and your father push that on you and kind of brought that to your attention, because you're right. Type A is we can just go and take on more and more and more until we are suffering with either mental health or medical problems. Similarly, my mom suffered with ovarian cancer and she ultimately passed away many years ago. But I always thought to myself, she worked so hard. She made it look so easy. She did everything. She was at every game. The house was always spotless. And and though she didn't live a life of with many vices, or she seemed mentally healthy, she seemed physically healthy. I always wonder how much the stress of that contributed to her illness. She had no reason really to have ovarian cancer or to be ill in any way. She was a healthy person. And so I wonder how much the stress of all of that, those expectations, the amount of work that she had to do. My dad is a physician, so she was the wife and mother of a physician family, and that can take a toll. That can take a toll on anyone's mental and physical well-being. So yeah, I always think about that. And I think of myself like you. I have 3 kids. I'm married. I have a career and a side business. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I'll start a podcast because I want to do more.
Right.
And everyone's like, yeah, okay. This is, she's just doing this for fun, but this is like, for me, this is self-care. This is pursuing my business interests and this podcast and using social media as an outlet to educate people. That's something that I have kind of explained to them and others, that this is not just another thing that I'm embarking on. This is kind of like my self-care, because I really love it.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So talk to me about how Superwoman Complex, how trying to do it all and be there for everyone and live up to everyone's expectations can lead to medical or mental health problems.
Yeah. Well, you highlighted one of the links that we know of, unfortunately, now, is that stress can then be the trigger for many things, right? So stress, unfortunately, can be associated with increased risk of some cancers and Alzheimer's, and be the trigger for depression and anxiety. A lot of us, there are a lot of those medical conditions that we hear of, the big ones. We often have genetic or DNA that we're born with that kind of predisposes us for those things.
Yeah.
And stress just happens to light the match, right? So, plenty of us have family members with hypertension and diabetes and obesity and cancers of different origins. But it's interesting that like not every member of the family will have that thing or will catch that thing. Sometimes elevated cortisol levels, elevated stress hormones, all these things can increase the chances of getting it. So we have to do things like exercise. We have to do things like try to not eat the most unhealthy diet with all the horrible things that can cause, medical issues, because, to treat ourselves from stress or to treat our, make ourselves feel better, we end up doing those things that are horrible. We end up drinking more, eating the wrong foods, laying down, and not really getting up and being active. And that can predispose you to these horrible issues as well. And then you end up in my office or on Alexis's schedule because you've been hospitalized or you're about to be hospitalized with these horrible conditions. So I really try to not only practice what I preach, because I myself try to not do these things that I know can lead to horrible medical issues, but then tell my patients that, okay, yeah, I'm going to prescribe you this HCTZ for your blood pressure. But guess what? If you really, truly take a look at what's going on in your life, in your work schedule, in your sleep schedule, we hopefully can get you off this medicine. You should be able to control this stuff without having to take a whole bunch of medication, right? So that's always my goal.
You mentioned the severe and life-threatening medical problems that I deal with in ICUs and every hospital that I've ever worked in. And I always look at these patients laying on a stretcher, intubated on multiple medication drips. And I think to myself that some of this might have been preventable. For example,
Absolutely.
Yes, you might have a genetic predisposition to diabetes, but diabetes as a life-threatening medical condition is one of the diseases that has the highest morbidity, and contributes to some of the worst medical hospitalizations. I'm looking at these patients saying that this may have been prevented if this patient had implemented some lifestyle changes. And that was one of the reasons that I started seeing patients to make lifestyle changes, because we can save lives by changing the way we do things in our life, by changing the way we live. However, you're talking about busy people who have families and jobs and obligations, and they have to take care of their family members, and they have to take care of their communities and all of their other volunteer options, their kids, sports, and all kinds of PTA, obligations. We're essentially telling busy people, here's another thing for you to do. And that's take care of yourself. Yeah. So how do you how do you empower your patients who are already bogged down and who are already extremely busy? Every minute of their day is taken up, to start to make changes towards self-care, towards changing their health and the trajectory of their wellness?
One thing that I've done a lot, particularly during the pandemic, is talk to my folks about, how has your stress level been? Like, which sounds crazy because all of us have had this extra layer of stress with COVID and the way that it's affected our whole life. But a lot of us have either transitioned to telework, where you're working from home, or you've continued to work out of the office and you've just had this extra layer of panic and anxiety, not wanting to catch COVID. So I've asked them, how have you done? How have you been doing? What are you doing for work? Where are you working? And a lot of us have not been able to take a break, or a lot of our employers have not been able to give us a break because either, they're shorthanded or, whatever. People have been sick. Come on. We all have, unfortunately, a coworker or an employee that has either suffered from or has been affected by, and their families, by COVID. So I asked them, how's it going at work? What's your work schedule like? What's happening with that? And I have written, now, again, don't call me and get on my schedule just to talk about not going to work, but I have written multiple work notes, sick notes, FMLA, short-term disability for folks, just so you can take a break. Like, it has been nonstop. You would think working from home, easier, I can get up and do work when I want to, but usually that means that the clock doesn't stop, right? Mm-hmm. You're working until crazy hours, you're forgetting to clock out, you're going to take that extra meeting just because you're sitting in your living room, but that's work, that's still work. And so not many of us have been able to take a week off or take a vacation or something like that. And that is vitally important. to your mental health. You need rest. You need
Right.
rest. So I've done that a lot, and I've tried to empower people to do that for themselves. Like, you have 100 hours of sick time. Why haven't you taken it in 3 months? Right. So that's number one. Number two, and what I try to model to my folks, I try to model myself, is even though I'm working at home, so I work from home 2 days a week. I see patients in the office Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I see patients from home Monday, Friday. And then I usually work my other side gigs into those work from home days. But what I did just last night is I looked at my week schedule, looked at all the things I had lined up. And for the days that I'm at home, which hopefully are a little more laid back than those in office days, I had to start cutting some stuff off. So I try to really only, when I'm at home, I try to keep most of my work day between like 10 and 3. And if anything else is on top of that, or it's just too many meetings stacked on top of each other, I start kind of eliminating or moving things around. So from 10 to 3, that's my busiest time. And then outside of that, I just want to be at home and doing home stuff or doing nothing, taking a nap. So you have to structure your schedule for what works for you, and you have to put yourself on your schedule. You mentioned us being, extra busy people. So yeah, this is one more thing you got to put on your schedule. From 3 to 4 p.m., I'm taking my nap, period. Like I put on my Instagram yesterday, how my kids usually, I try to take a nap right here on the couch, and they're like on top of me and laughing and recording mommy as she's trying to sleep. That's self-care as well, right? That counts. So for extra busy people, yes, this is one more thing, but guess what? Put it right on your calendar, just like you do everything else.
I talk a lot about how people working from home, we lack a boundary that distinguishes the workday from
That's right.
non-working time. We don't have that drive home necessarily anymore where we can decompress, which actually signals walking in the door and being, part of family time now, and not being on because our phones are on. And even our kids' computers, when they were doing school from home, the computers were constantly dinging and constant reminder of work that's to be done. And so I find it's important to really turn off when you're off, if you are working from home, because otherwise your work will
just
call
keep going.
Yeah. And you will feel the pressure of that email dinging or that text, like, who do I need to respond to? What's going to happen? Like, your work will go on without you. Yeah. And you have to make it a point to announce or decide and follow through with the fact that you are going to reserve some time for yourself when you are in your home, where you don't have to be connected to your computer or your phone, and use that time really, really, truly to relax. I mean, if you're thinking, if your idea of relaxing is like, all the things that you have to do, that's not really relaxing. That's not using your free time to take care of yourself.
No.
Now, I used to be a real huge proponent of routine and organization. And I think that this is a great example of why you might need a coach or somebody to help you figure out how to navigate these difficult issues, or might need somebody to help you, might need to follow or read something, and might need an individual kind of approach to how you do this. Because some people are planners and some people are not. I felt that when I was hyper organized with respect to my schedule, it was making me more stressed out and I was less productive.
Right.
If I was to look at my schedule Sunday night and be like, oh my God, all the things I have to do this week, I'd be in a tizzy, and there would leave no room for flexibility, and it would just make me more stressed and more frustrated, and I probably would get less done. So I think that approaching it in an individual approach, not one approach is right for everyone, but taking a look at how you function best. What are your strengths? What's your personality type? What are the things that make you feel anxious or stressed? And how can you navigate your to-do list? And how can you plan for time for rest and for family without making yourself feel worse about it?
Yes. And I want to throw in, when do you feel that you work best? So I had to figure out, and I had to pay attention to when my energy levels were the best. So I know that first thing in the morning, I made an exception for you because I love you, getting up early to do the podcast.
Thank you.
But usually I'm happiest. I can feel myself in the office turn on at 10 a.m. I'm like, oh, I'm awake. I've had my coffee. I'm settled. I got my stuff where I want it to be. There 3 o'clock, I'm like, zoning out. It's nap time. So I try to put most of my work in between those hours. My husband is a night owl, so he tends to schedule talking to people or recording things or whatever, producing things later in the evening. So, he likes to sleep a little bit later. I'm the early riser, get the kids going, etc. He gets up kind of mid-morning. He likes to say he doesn't like to wake up until there are 4 numbers on the clock.
Ooh,
so at 10 o'clock,
like
he's up, but then he's going until 2 a.m. So he works really well from like 8 p.m. to 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. after the kids are in the bed, I'm in the bed, it's quiet and all that. So you have to figure out where your sweet spot is and put your work there. The other hours you're doing either, stuff that doesn't take as much energy, doesn't take as much mental work, or rest. Yeah, you have to figure that out.
I've been listening to a great audiobook called Do Nothing by a woman named Celeste Headley. And she talks about, it's kind of along the similar 4-day work week, kind of exactly what you're saying.
I love the 4-day work week. That's
yeah.
good.
When are you most effective and most efficient? How much time really can you do focus work? And how do you eliminate distractions to make yourself more effective in the time that you're working? Because every time you're distracted, if you're not working in an environment that's conducive to being efficient and productive, every time you're distracted, it takes you like a minute or two to get back into focus. So think about all the time that's being wasted with distractions and getting back to focus, that if you really just powered down and focused and eliminated distractions, you could probably get done what you need to get done in a lot less time.
That's
therefore good. Leaving more time for all the other stuff.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. So
it's a great book. It really, really made me kind of evaluate how I was working, like you said, but also how I was spending my time. A lot of people I hear say, I don't have time. I don't have time to exercise. Right. I don't have time to take a nap. I don't have time to, go to the grocery store and shop for Whole Foods and cook a meal every day.
Yep.
And when you really break it down and analyze it, you probably have time.
You got it.
Or you probably have room to make time.
You got it. You have time. You just have to create the space. Everybody has, right? Beyonce still has 24 hours in a day too. Clearly, she's a billionaire.
She's got a little help.
5 nannies and 3 chefs and all that. But we all have the same amount of time. You just have to create. You have to break down your time better. Yeah.
One of the things I posted actually yesterday about was how I discovered the screen time app on my phone. I don't know if you've seen it, but it breaks down exactly how much time you are spending on your phone, how many times a day you pick up your phone, and in particular, exactly how many minutes you are spending in each app. Now, a lot of us need to use our phones.
I don't want to know.
I don't want to know for me. Yeah. Take a look once. Every time you pick up your phone, you'll be like, oh, I shouldn't pick it up. It's really eye-opening. It's really eye-opening. I run my business. My husband runs his business off of his phone. And of course, when we tell our kids, put down your phones, you don't need to be on your phone so much or your iPad so much. And they say, but you're on your phones all day too.
That's right.
I run a business
off like I'm working, I'm making money.
It's true. I run that business off of the apps on my phone. But when I look at the breakdown of how much time I'm spending on social media or, just browsing, websites or whatever, there's time there. There's time there that you can really be using in a more productive way. Or if you're saying I can't exercise, but you have 45 minutes on Facebook.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Listen or read, scroll your phone while you're walking, or try to multitask or try to minimize. And what's great about the screen time feature on your phone is that you can set timers. So if you're on an app for it'll ding and tell you, hey, you've been on Facebook for 30 minutes, shut it down. So little things like that, little strategies to help keep you focused, free up some of the time that you might be using in a less effective or less meaningful way, will free you up to do some of the other things that you want to do, like take a nap or go to the pool or go for a hike or cook dinner.
Yeah. And then be real with yourself. That's the other thing I had to do. So, early in the pandemic, I was really committed to exercise. Like I got a virtual trainer. She was, yelling at me through the computer 3 times a week and it made me feel good. Right. So I'm like, I'm gonna be healthy. I'm not gonna catch COVID. I'm gonna be good. But then after about 6 months, I was like, I think I'm bored with that. So I stopped. right? And you have to be real with yourself and say, yeah, I could get up at 6 a.m. and go for a run and do this and do that, but I don't feel like it. So I'm going to figure out something else I want to do, right? So, you know, once the weather was really nice, I said, I feel better going outside. So taking my kids to the pool and getting in the pool and doing some exercise makes me feel better than getting up at 6 a.m. with a trainer and her yelling through the computer, which again, worked for a minute. You know, so there will be ebbs and flows in your energy level, in your motivation, in your feeling, the vibe, the energy, all that. Pay attention to it and move with it. Move with it. So you're right. You don't have to be so stringent all the time. If you don't feel like it, do something different. Find another way to fit that in, right?
One of my sister-in-law, Emily Newman, actually runs a community called Move Your Booty, and she's a health and wellness expert, and her whole kind of philosophy is that just move. Like all you have to do is move. You don't, if you are not a runner and you hate running and you're seeing ads on Instagram and people on Instagram who are running and makes you feel like you have to be a runner, but you hate it, you're not going to do it. It's not going to do it.
Then, do something different. Yeah. I get it.
So just moving and doing what you like. It's so hard when you're looking and you're comparing yourself to people on social media. You know, I read something that, you know, back in the 50s and 60s and, in the decades before social media, your sphere of influence and the people that you were comparing yourself to were the people in your neighborhood, the people that you saw every day, the people at work who were probably mostly like on the same socioeconomic status. So if you were trying to advance yourself, you were trying to go like one or two steps up on a ladder. And now we're looking at Kim Kardashian, we're looking at Beyonce and all these people who are 10 or 100 steps up on the ladder. And we're using them it's
so unrealistic, right?
Right. As an unrealistic comparison. And so when you're talking about how to make changes in your life and you're flooded with images of people who may be doing things that sure you'd like to do, but you can't, or you don't want to, you're feeling pressure to exercise in a certain way or eat a certain way or follow a certain diet. And you really, like you said, you just have to find what works for you. And when it's a lifestyle change and not like, like a thing I'm going to try,
right,
it becomes integrated into your body and your mind and your life. And then it's just like, it's thoughtless. You don't even have to think about it.
That's right.
It's something you enjoy. It's something that serves you. It's something that makes you feel better, makes you more productive, makes your day go better. Elevates your mood, and I'm not just talking about exercise. I'm talking about all of it, the lifestyle, the whole diet, what you consume, what you're looking at, if you're watching news that's bringing you down, or if you're in a relationship with someone who is just sucking your energy and not bringing you anything. Fill your day with only the stuff that brings you up. Our one precious life, as Dr. Pepper said, is so short, and we don't know how long it's going to be. So we have to fill it with good stuff because I talked about my mom and how all she wanted to do was travel, and she never got to. She never really got to, so take the time off.
So make now your day everywhere. Go.
Make your day meaningful. So you talked about how taking control of your life or optimizing your life to make it really meaningful and really not just productive, but meaningful is the word I'm looking for. Yes. And you talk about taking control of your life and your work.
Yes. So I like that you changed productive to meaningful. That's good, because especially right now during the pandemic or early in the pandemic, remember everybody was trying to do something and then create something, and they're like, I have this free time. I'm at home. I'm going to make this bread, or I'm going to write this book, or I'm going to do all these things, right? At some point I was just like, you know what, if you survive COVID now, you have been successful. Like, if icing on the cake, if you were able to produce and do all these wonderful things on top of that, but we don't have to always be producing something to be meaningful. So that's great. But I've also realized, now that I am, mid 40s and 2 kids and, wife and all that, and I've been working for, if you count residency, almost 15 years now. I also have realized the benefits of owning your own business or having ownership of your time, right? So we say, do all these wonderful things, take a nap, do exercise, do this, do that. But if you're working a regular 9 to 5, you don't really have control over how your time is spent, right? So someone's telling you, you have to do these meetings and get this done by this time and see these patients by this time, et cetera. By having our side gigs that hopefully will someday become our main gig, or will help us to decrease the main gig and become more, we have now created an environment, a lifestyle that helps us to have control over that. So if I don't want to work on Friday, I shut my schedule down, right? Now, granted, because I eat what I kill, I'm going to make less money on that Friday, but hopefully I've worked a couple days prior to that to save up so that I can do that. So if you are able to create that passive income, that thing that helps you to make money while you sleep, or you can make a couple of bucks on a weekend, it doesn't stress you out too much, and you're able to do that and save up, that will hopefully give you some freedom to either leave that job that you hate or ask to work from home because it works better for your life, or shorten your schedule or work in a different capacity so that you can have control over what you're doing, from 9 to 5. And it's not easy. I know, Alexis, you've probably been through some transitions as well with what you're trying to do. I know you had the clinic and then you had to kind of shift. And we were talking about how much we hate the word pivot. You had to pivot and then figure out a new way. But it really does take that. But once you find that sweet spot, like I woke up this morning feeling really fortunate. I woke up this morning feeling blessed. Yes, I was tired. Yes, I was running around getting the kids together and saying, okay, y'all shush, be over here because I got to do this. But I felt like, how cool is it though that I get to talk to my friend on Zoom, and this is part of our work. Yeah. And then I'm going to take my kids to the pool later, and I'm going to go to Target, and then I'll see a patient, and then I'll come back. I love that freedom. I love that freedom.
So people who are listening are thinking, all right, well, these two chicks, they're two doctors. They're talking about taking naps and going to the pool.
Yeah.
We know how hard we work. Everyone works hard.
Yeah.
We're asking people to work their regular job, take care of themselves, be healthy so they don't get sick and develop chronic illnesses. And now we're asking them to find a way to also start a business.
So it sounds crazy, right?
It is crazy. It is crazy, but you are 100% right. So my question to you as a coach, mentor, and someone who has done it, just because we take naps and go to the pool doesn't mean we don't work hard. We work our asses off, and we have for decades. But how do you as a coach of women and men, people who are trying to change their lives and become an entrepreneur, to improve their time currency, how much time they have? How do you tell them to start? How do you start? How do you determine what kind of business to start? How do you find time in your already packed day to create a business? It's going to be harder before it gets better, right?
Absolutely. It's going to suck at first. So, that's the truth. You're going to be working your 9 to 5 and your 5 to 9 for a long time. For a long time. It's going to suck. You're going to grind. You're going to lose sleep. You're going to lose some money, but when it hits, and when you hit that sweet spot, you're going to be like, oh, this is what I was working on. And every day isn't easy. Every day is not easy. There are some days when I'm in clinic seeing the patients, and then I had to hurry up and get this book done for a client, or had to put on this other meeting and do this thing. You're going to be tired, but there are going to be hopefully more days than not where you feel like, oh, it was worth it. I get to do what I want to do. I'm on vacation, I can work remote, I can do what I need to do. But at first it's going to be hard, and you're going to need support. You're going to need to have your family support you. Thank God for my husband. I shout him out all the time. Being the entrepreneur that he is inspired me to be the entrepreneur that I am. And he's always like, you can do it. What's your next crazy idea? Okay, that sounds great. That sounds insane. Let's do it. Like, he's that kind of person. You're absolutely insane. It sounds phenomenal. Let's do it. Like, he's that kind of guy. So having a support system that backs you, and if you fail, can help pick you right back up and move on, is integral. And, just having the faith to just try it. Just try it. I mean, you can always go and work at Target and Walmart, right? But if that idea, that passion project, if that thing really takes off, it's going to be so good in the end. It's going to be worth it. Try it.
Yeah. I don't know that I've discussed the backstory of, how we ended up here in North Carolina, but my husband and I were both well established in a community in New York.
Mm-hmm.
We both had careers. We both had pensions. We both had, connections. We knew people, and we were working in jobs that didn't make us feel full and didn't make us feel whole. Right. And so when it came down to it, we looked at all the ways we could change our lives, and we walked away. We walked away from the pension, from the higher paying jobs. And because ultimately it was the high cost of living where we were living that was holding us back. We had to work ridiculous amounts of time just to pay the taxes. So for us, the thing that made the most sense was to physically move our location to a lower cost of living area.
Yes.
And in that, people would say, oh my God. And in the beginning, we're like, oh my God, like, how are we ever going to do this? We left family behind. Like, how are we ever going to make a change that's that big?
Yeah.
But what happened was my husband was able to completely change careers. He was able to stay home with our kids for the first 2 years that we were here in North Carolina.
Same.
When my daughter was, 2 years old, and we didn't know anyone and we didn't trust anyone for childcare. And what a blessing and a gift for him as a dad to be able to spend that time.
Yes.
And in that time, he started a career that absolutely fills him up every single day.
Yes.
And it was slow, and we worked together. I had to work harder to support that, but he is so much happier. We are all so much happier. We have more time. We have more free time. We can travel now. We have some money in the bank, which we never did in New York. And so a massive change like that was what it took for us. It doesn't have to be that massive for everyone. It can be something smaller, like just taking a look at, do I qualify for a promotion? Should I ask for a raise?
Yes.
Can I, like you said, use my PTO, use that time off, take the leave to make a plan?
That's right.
And maybe get a coach, maybe hire you or someone to figure out what are the steps logistically that I need to take to make this whole situation better.
You got it. You're right on it. And often you do have to take that pay cut to make your life easier. Yeah. But guess what? Hopefully that pay cut you can make up in, like you said, time currency. It's not always about money. Sometimes it means I get more time with my kids. Sometimes I will make up that money because I'm working on the side gig, and that's what's going to put more money in the bank. You're absolutely right. That's brilliant. So your situation is the perfect picture of how those were hard decisions that you made, but look what happened as a result. That's wonderful. My husband, the same. My husband comes from news anchor journalism background. So he was on TV and doing all the fun things that come with being a news reporter and all that in his 20s. It was hard work. He was, late hours and always on and all that good stuff. He soon decided that being in DC or being in a big city, he couldn't sustain that. So he wanted to go to a smaller market where schedule was a little bit easier. But then as he got into his 30s and then we met and got married and all that, he was working so hard. He transitioned to a sales position, was doing great, top salesman, TV, all that good stuff. But then life happened, stress happened. His parents got sick, they were getting older, all that good stuff. And then we realized that his blood pressure had been hanging out in the 180s, 190s, over 90s forever, how long? And he ended up in the emergency room, right? And so me as the fresh green new physician and new wife was like, we just got married and we want to have kids, we want to live. You're going to have to leave that job. That was a big deal. Now, thank God he had already kind of started some of the other things that he was doing on the side. Like he started some marketing stuff, was doing web design and all that. So he had something to fall back on, but that was a huge pay cut, right? I had to work harder, so I could, kind of help with the household. But He was able to build those businesses at home. He was able to have his own schedule. Once we did have children, he also stayed home with them for the first 2 years of their lives, saved us a huge amount of money on daycare, right? Mm-hmm. He got that bonding time with his daughters that many fathers don't get early on. And it worked out. It worked out. So you do have to make those hard decisions for your health. Don't let a job kill you. It's not worth it. Like I said, go work at Target, go work at Burger King. I'd rather you do that and be happy than be, working yourself to the bone and ending up in the ER with a stroke and a heart attack and all these horrible things. Don't let a job kill you.
Yeah. Yeah. Your husband is awesome. If you all don't follow Rick Swiner and Doc Swiner on social media, you have to see them. They are just relationship goals, career goals. I mean, you guys have it down. They have the most beautiful girls, and you really can tell that you are enjoying your lives together. Yeah. You really can tell just by looking at the pictures on your social media, how close you are, those fabulous dress up and photo shoot sessions.
That's fun.
I'm like, I said to my husband, Michael, let's go get our pictures taken.
You have to do that. Every 6 months. Yes. Every 6 months, get dressed up and take some fancy pictures just for no reason at all. That's something that makes me happy.
So ideally someone who's young, who's just starting out in their career, green, excited, enthusiastic about embarking on a journey into whatever they studied to do or whatever they're doing in their lives. And they're going to get going. Ideally, they'll start thinking about what else they're going to do on the side when they're young.
Yep.
But when you're 40, 42, 45, and you realize that there's more and you want more and you want to make a change, that it's harder to go back. It's harder to go back and make that change as you get older. And maybe as you have kids in school who require your attention and your time. One of the things that I want for you to talk about is how you have created courses and written books utilizing your expertise. Mm-hmm. And you help people do that as well. And I think it's a brilliant side gig for people to pursue, is either writing a book or creating a course for other people to learn whatever you're an expert in.
Yeah.
So talk to me about how you coach people to pursue either course creation or writing a book as a side gig, as a viable side gig, as an option to make some passive income and utilize skills that they already have, maybe to help create some more of that time currency.
Yeah. So getting a coach is vitally important. I read something that said that Oprah has 2 coaches of her own. And just think, she's the guru of everything. We think we know, she knows all and has done all, but she has coaches too.
How do we get that job?
Right. I want to be Oprah's coach, but get yourself a coach, and it's going to cost you some money, but guess what? The money that you make out of it, or whatever you create, or what that coach or consultant helps you to create out of what you all talk about together, is going to make up for it. And again, time currency is worth all the money in the world. So get you a coach. So yes, what I have tried to do is I've tried to, whether it's on, social media, on YouTube, on one-on-one meetings, or with a package deal, is try to help folks figure out what type of thing they want to do, whatever side gig they want to create, whatever presence they want to have on social media, creating that look, creating that marketing plan, or publishing their book. So through Swiner Publishing, I help people take their writings and become a self-published, I like to say, helping a writer become a best-selling self-published entrepreneur. Because not only do I want you to have the book, which most of us aren't going to make $1 million off of, I want you to take that book and then create something out of it. So if you're trying to become a national speaker and you want to become that topic expert, then we're going to write that book, because that is your resume, and that's how you get in front of people and get booked for gigs. So if you want to take that book and you want to create your own course, we start with the book that puts you in front of people. You broadcast what you're doing to the world, and then people will come to you for that course. So I try to help people create, take what they've created. I also try to make it easy and try to do a lot of the work that, a lot of us have that. We have that idea and that vision for that thing that we want to write, but it's just about, okay, well, how do I get the stuff that I've written on social media on paper into book form? So that's my job. I take it from you. I pull it, I wring it out of your hands, because that's usually that's usually what it takes. It's like your baby. You don't want to give it up, right? So I pull it out of you, take it away from you, and then we complete the steps to get it to the finish line as a completed project. And I help, coach you along the way. This is how you create your Instagram. This is how you live stream. This is how you put yourself in front of the camera. Because a lot of us don't like to do that, especially if you're a physician or if you've never done something like this before.
Yeah,
that's very uncomfortable. So get you a coach. The other thing I like to tell people is that it's really easier than you think. We see these bright, beautiful things on social media and think it took 100 people to do it in $1 million budget. It does not.
Not anymore.
Right. You can learn a lot of this stuff on your own by looking on YouTube, by Googling, by going to Fiverr and getting, a consultant or a vendor for a low cost that can create you graphics and all that. It really does. You don't have to have $1 million to do a lot of what we're doing. You just need somebody to help show you the way. So I definitely encourage you to do that.
When I first moved to North Carolina and I was contemplating opening my practice and I had all these ideas, people who are listening here are going to start thinking about all the different things that they're good at or the things that they like and they might want to pursue. And I wrote all of mine down on paper and I sat and I called up Doc Swiner and I sat with her outside of Coco.
That's right. We did.
And, I had all these things that I felt like I could be good at and all these things that I could do. And as a woman, as a motivator, as a someone who just has such a great, warm, logical, but passionate spirit, you helped me bring so much clarity to really kind of pinpoint what am I offering? What is my message? What is the vehicle that I'm going to get it out there? And after that meeting, I really had to figure out what are these things am I going to focus on? Which one am I going to pick? And it really, really helped me fine tune where I was going to go forward.
That's great. I appreciate that.
Oh my gosh. It really was life-changing because I didn't know many people here and I was fortunate to meet you in person. It's a different vibe when you get to hug and talk and, and really spend a little bit of time than being virtual, but you can do that for people all over the country and all over the world via Zoom. And even if it's just someone for a brainstorming session to help you find your purpose and find your passion, pinpoint what it is that you're going to do and how you're going to start. It's incredibly invaluable to have someone to just hold your hand in that beginning step, especially if you don't have a family who's supportive. If there are people in your family who are going to be saying, it's going to cost too much money or, it's going to take too much time or, let's just stick with the safe and easy way. Let's just work 9 to 5 every day until we retire. And then we'll do all the things that we want to do. Right. That's a risk. It's a risk.
You might not get there. Right.
It's true. And I know people who you don't necessarily need to even necessarily be an expert in something in order to pursue writing a book or creating a course as your side gig. I know 2 examples. One is a woman who is a homesteader. She created a course and started writing books about how to can vegetables and how to raise chickens. And she doesn't have any agriculture degree. She put her life and her experience and expertise in what she was doing and what she was successful at. And she taught other people how to do it.
Beautiful.
Another example is a woman I know who is living with an autistic child who is a beacon of hope and light and resources and energy, teaching other moms and dads how to navigate life with a child with special needs. And she wrote books and she's not a social worker. She's not a physical therapist. She's just a mom who other people can relate to. Yeah. And she's making a great little income, coaching people, helping people, motivating, inspiring, and influencing people to work in a way that's conducive and productive when living in a household and trying to navigate the needs of a child with special needs. So just 2 examples that you don't need to have multiple degrees in order to create something,
Nope. Absolutely. You're absolutely correct.
Oh my gosh. So much good stuff. I want you, Doc Swiner. I know how to find you, but I need my friends to know how they can find you and your hubby, Rick, who is so fine and so sweet and so wonderful. I love
your husband too. He's cute.
Yeah, mine's not bad either. I want you to tell us where we can find you on social media or in person on the Tobacco Road down in Duke Country, and let us know.
Yeah. So the funny thing is that this is very timely. So my Doc Swiner Instagram just got hacked.
Oh,
so about 2 weeks ago, I was up to like 10,000 followers. I worked hard for that thing, but it's just social media. It's not life or death. I had to talk myself down. So I have a new Instagram. So please come follow me on Real Doc Swiner. So no the on the front, just Real Doc Swiner on Instagram. Instagram's my favorite system. DM me, send me a message. That's my favorite thing to use. That's probably, if I did the screen time app, it would say you spend way too much time on Instagram. So Instagram is where I am. On Facebook, I also have a business page, Doc Swiner. My website is DocSwiner.com. So find me. I have YouTube stuff. We talked about learning a lot of stuff on YouTube. I have a lot of teachings and stuff on marketing and branding and stuff on YouTube. So it's youtube.com/DocSwiner. Email me if we need to get together. Let's talk about your book. Let's talk about your business. Let's talk about your self-care. I got New Year, New You. That's my, annual, usually in person. We did the new normal. That was virtual, but New Year, New You will be coming back in person 2022 in February. So be on the lookout for that. We're going on a trip, ladies. So get your passports ready. Not gonna tell you where yet, but
passports.
Get your passports. We're going. Let's go. Let's travel.
I have a feeling it's going to be warm. I have a feeling it's going to be tropical.
Well, somewhere I can let my shoulders out.
But you can wear one of those dresses and have
my shoulders. So Real Doc Swiner on Instagram, and send me a DM, shoot me a message, and we'll talk.
I also do not want to forget that you are a primary care physician at Durham Family Medicine.
Durham Family Medicine. Yes, I still see patients. Yes.
And one of your other new businesses just happens to be Serenity Hydration and Wellness.
Oh yeah.
Let's not forget about that. Tell all my local friends how they can find you. I refer everybody to you as a primary care doc because I think your office is fabulous. But tell us where we can find you in person if we want you to be our doctor, or if we need some hydration and IV fluid therapy.
Yes. Durham Family Medicine is on Broad Street in Durham, North Carolina. We're near the big Costco. So if you know where Costco is, we're kind of across the street from there. DurhamFamilyMedicine.net is our website. And yes, this past month and a half ago, I kind of added a service to what I'm already doing. I call it Serenity Hydration and Wellness. On Instagram is Serenity Hydration Wellness, all one word. And it's for your IV hydration, for your nutrition, for your vitamin D, vitamin B12, glutathione shots, skin glow, dehydration, stomach flu, recovering from COVID, don't want to get sick, all those good things. You're out here in the streets drinking and living your best life, and then you have a hangover the next day. That's what I'm there for. Let me know. We can schedule through the Instagram. The Instagram has all the website info as well. So let me know what you need.
Doc Swiner to the rescue. I am so lucky that our paths have crossed. I feel fortunate to call you my friend, that I get to see you virtually and in person. I think it's
time for us to get together in person. Yeah. Vaccinated love.
For sure. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing all of your enthusiasm and wisdom with my friends. I look forward to many, many more beautiful dates with you.
Yes, ma'am. Cheers.
Have a good one. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening to my podcast, Family Health with Dr. Lex. If you love the music like I do, you can find more at therealmichaelvm.com/music. If you'd like to support the show, please leave a review, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can ask questions, suggest topics for future podcast interviews, and find more health and wellness information on my website, drlexlifestylemedicine.com. See you next time.